Imagine this. A wealthy woman dies. Her family gathers to divide her fortune, and before the lawyer can even open the envelope, someone drops dead. But here's the part that will make your blood run cold. The dead woman knew this would happen. In fact, she planned it. Tonight I'm going to tell you about Evelyn Mercer, a 78-year-old widow who orchestrated her own death and her son's murder from beyond the grave. This is the last confession, a story where greed wears the mask of love, where the dead speak louder than the living, and where everyone inherits something, but not what they expected. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because in this story, every secret counts, and you won't want to miss what comes next. This is Life Twisted Stories, and if you love murder mysteries with shocking twists, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's begin. The Mercer Estate, a Victorian mansion perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, 3 stories of Gothic architecture surrounded by overgrown gardens and ancient trees that whispered secrets to the wind. It was the kind of place where wealthy families kept their skeletons, literally and figuratively. On this particular October evening, as a violent storm rolled in from the sea, 5 people arrived at the mansion. They'd been summoned for one purpose: the reading of Evelyn Mercer's will. Evelyn had died 3 weeks earlier, heart failure, the doctors said, quick and painless at 78. But as we're about to discover, nothing about Evelyn Mercer's death was natural. Richard Mercer arrived first, the eldest son, 52 years old, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. He walked through those mansion doors like a king returning to his castle. And why wouldn't he? His mother had always told him he was special, her favourite, the one who deserved everything. His sister Clara arrived 20 minutes later, 28 years old, thin, exhausted, wearing a dress she'd bought at a thrift store. She looked like someone who hadn't slept properly in months, because she hadn't. Graham Holt, the family lawyer, was already there, 60 years old, grey hair, expensive glasses. He'd been setting up documents in the study for hours, his face unreadable as always. And then there was Nora Reed, Evelyn's live-in caregiver for the past 5 years, 40 years old, quiet, watchful. She moved through the mansion like a ghost, barely making a sound. Tonight, she stood in the corner of the study, watching, always watching. At exactly 7 p.m., Graham Holt cleared his throat and called everyone to attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I know this is a difficult time, but Evelyn left very specific instructions about how tonight should proceed." Richard leaned back in his leather chair, already smiling. "Let's not drag this out, Graham. We all know Mother left everything to me. She told me herself many times." Clara said nothing, just stared at her hands folded in her lap. Graham adjusted his glasses. "Actually, Richard, Evelyn's final will is quite unusual. She's left the bulk of her estate, $12 million, to what she calls the most deserving Mercer, but she didn't specify who that is." The room went silent. Even the storm outside seemed to pause. Richard sat forward, irritation flashing in his eyes. "What do you mean, didn't specify?" Graham pulled out an envelope from his briefcase. Red wax seal. Evelyn's initials pressed into it. "She left this letter containing her final decision. I'm instructed to read it aloud tonight at precisely 7:15. Not before. Not after." Clara's voice was barely a whisper. "Why 7:15? "I don't know," Graham admitted. "But we have 10 minutes to wait." Nora moved silently through the room, carrying a silver tray with crystal wine glasses. "Evelyn wanted you to have this," she said softly. "A toast before the reading. Her favourite vintage." Richard grabbed a glass without even looking at Nora. How thoughtful. Mother always did love her little theatrical moments. Clara took a glass carefully but didn't drink, just held it, the crystal trembling slightly in her hands. Graham raised his hand, declining. "Not while conducting legal business." Nora set the tray down and returned to her corner, silent, still, like a shadow pretending to be a person. The grandfather clock ticked. Rain hammered the windows, thunder rolled across the ocean, and then, at exactly 7:10, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then complete darkness for 3 heartbeats. When the lights came back on, something had changed. A large television screen on the wall, hidden behind a painting moments before, was now exposed, and on that screen was a woman's face. Evelyn Mercer. She looked exactly as they remembered her, sharp eyes, thin lips pressed into a knowing smile, expensive pearl necklace, every inch the matriarch, and when she spoke, her voice was cold, calm, amused. If you're hearing this, then I'm dead. And if you're watching this, one of you killed me. Chaos erupted. Richard shot to his feet. What the hell is this? Clara's wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor, red wine spreading like blood. Graham stared at the screen, his face draining of colour. Only Nora remained perfectly still. Evelyn's recorded image smiled wider. Oh, don't look so shocked. Did you really think I didn't know? I've been watching all of you, recording every conversation, every lie, every betrayal. Before this night ends, someone else will die. The same poison that killed me will kill again, and when it does, the truth will finally confess itself. She leaned closer to the camera. So here's my advice. Don't drink the wine. They all looked at their glasses. Clara was shattered on the floor. Graham hadn't taken one, but Richard was staring at the half-empty glass in his hand. His face went pale. His hands started shaking. This is insane, he said, his voice rising with panic. Mother was losing her mind. This is just another one of her... He never finished. Richard Mercer collapsed. His body hit the floor with a heavy thud. The wine glass rolled from his hand, spilling the last few drops across the Persian rug. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing, his mouth gasping for air that wouldn't come. Clara screamed, a raw, primal sound that seemed to shake the mansion's foundations. Graham rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside Richard, checking for a pulse. There was none. Richard Mercer was dead, and on the television screen, Evelyn Mercer's smile grew even wider. I told you, she said softly, if greed doesn't kill you, guilt will. The screen went black. Thunder crashed outside like the sound of judgment, and the nightmare had only just begun. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something. If this story already has you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button right now. And if you want more murder mysteries with twists that will leave you speechless, subscribe to Life Twisted Stories. We bring you shocking tales every single week, because trust me, what you've heard so far is nothing compared to what's coming. Now let me tell you about the detective who walked into this house of secrets. Nora called 911 at 7:18 p.m. Her voice was steady, almost eerily calm, as she reported a sudden death at the Mercer estate. By 7:45, Detective Arlo Dean was standing in that study, looking at Richard Mercer's body. Arlo was 43, 20 years on the force. He'd seen every kind of death imaginable, murders disguised as accidents, suicides staged as murders, family members killing each other over insurance policies and old grudges. But this was different. A dead man on the floor, a confession from beyond the grave playing on a television screen, and 3 living suspects who all looked equally terrified. He looked at Graham first. You're the family attorney? Graham nodded, his hands visibly trembling. Yes, Graham Holt. I've represented the Mercers for 15 years. And you were in this room when he died. We all were. Arlo made notes. You saw him drink the wine. I wasn't watching closely, I was reviewing documents. Arlo turned to Clara next. She was sitting in a chair, staring at nothing, tears streaming silently down her face. Miss Mercer, can you tell me what happened? She looked up at him with empty eyes. My brother is dead, and my mother. She knew. She planned this. She murdered him from her grave. Arlo examined the wine glass near Richard's body, carefully bagged it as evidence. Then he noticed something odd.
There were 4 wine glasses on the silver tray. Richard had taken one and drunk from it. Clara had taken one and dropped it. That left 2 untouched glasses. Who else was offered wine? Arlo asked. Nora stepped forward from her corner. I was, but I don't drink. And I declined, Graham added quietly. Arlo counted again, 2 glasses on the tray, 1 shattered, 1 in Richard's hand. That's 4 glasses total. But there were 5 people in this room. There should be 5 glasses, Arlo said slowly. Where's the 5th one? Nobody answered. The mansion creaked. The wind howled, and somewhere in the shadows, a secret waited. Arlo's forensics team arrived and processed the scene. Photographs, fingerprints, evidence collection. The preliminary toxicology report came back in 20 minutes. Cyanide, fast-acting, fatal within 3 minutes of ingestion. But here's what made Arlo's instincts scream. The poison wasn't just in Richard's glass, it was in the bottle, which meant every glass poured from that bottle was lethal, including the 2 still sitting on that tray. Arlo looked at the 3 survivors with new understanding. Nobody leaves this house. This is now a homicide investigation, and all of you are suspects. Graham started to protest. Detective, you can't possibly... Your client left a recording accusing someone in this room of murdering her. Hours later, her son dies from poison. Yes, Mr. Holt. I can, possibly. Arlo pulled out his phone and replayed Evelyn's video message. Her voice filled the room again. One of you poisoned Richard, just as you planned to do to me. Arlo stopped the playback. So Evelyn Mercer believed she was murdered. The official cause of death was heart failure, but now I'm thinking we need to revisit that. First, let's talk motives. Richard was set to inherit everything. Who wanted him dead? Clara's voice came out barely audible. I did. Everyone turned to stare at her. She wasn't crying anymore. She looked numb, defeated, like someone who'd been carrying a crushing weight for so long, she'd forgotten what it felt like to stand upright. Richard controlled Mother's money after she got sick, Clara explained flatly. He was supposed to help me when I needed it. I was drowning in debt, medical school loans I couldn't pay, hospital bills from a surgery I couldn't afford. I begged him for help. Her hands clenched into fists. He laughed in my face, said I should have been smarter with my money, but it wasn't his money, it was Mother's, and he hoarded every cent while I lost everything. Arlo wrote in his notebook. Did you poison the wine, Clara? No. Did you poison your mother? Her eyes met his, dead, empty. No, but I wanted to. Every single day for the past year I thought about it. Arlo turned to Graham. You altered the will without informing the family. Want to explain that? Graham's face went white. How did you? Evelyn's recording. She said she documented secrets. That was yours, wasn't it? Graham sank deeper into his chair. Evelyn asked me to make changes, small modifications, removing Richard as executor, adding charitable stipulations. She was testing him, waiting to see if he'd bother to actually read the documents. And did he? Never once. He just assumed he'd get everything and never looked closer. Then Arlo focused on Nora. Miss Reed, you weren't mentioned in the will at all. Nora met his gaze calmly. No. 5 years of service, and she left you nothing. She left me what mattered, her trust. Arlo stepped closer. You have access to her recording room, the hidden one, don't you? For the first time, something flickered in Nora's eyes. Yes. Show me. The recording room was on the 3rd floor, concealed behind a false bookshelf. Nora pressed a hidden switch, and the shelf swung inward. Inside was a surveillance expert's dream. A dozen monitors show every room in the mansion. Stacks of hard drives labelled with dates going back 5 years, recording equipment, microphones, cameras. Evelyn Mercer had been documenting everything, every conversation, every argument, every secret. A complete catalogue of her family's sins. Arlo sat at the computer and began searching files. Then he found one labelled in red. Final confession. Play after my death. He looked at Nora. You knew this was here. She told me to give it to the police if anything happened to her. Why didn't you?
The autopsy said natural causes. I thought maybe she was paranoid, that the illness had affected her mind. Arlo pressed play. Evelyn appeared on screen, looking tired but sharp. Detective, if you're watching this, you've come farther than I expected. They think I'm senile, but I know exactly what's happening. Someone has been poisoning me, slowly, methodically, small doses to make me weak, compliant. But I stopped drinking the wine 3 weeks ago, switched to sealed water bottles, let them think they were succeeding while I gathered evidence. If you're watching this, they got impatient, and I'm dead. Look at the footage from October 3rd, 2 weeks before my death. You'll see who brought me the poisoned wine. Arlo found the October 3rd file and opened it. The footage showed Evelyn's bedroom at twilight. She sat in her chair by the window. The door opened. Clara walked in, carrying a wine bottle. Let me stop here for just a moment, because you think you know who the killer is now, don't you? If you're already forming theories, drop them in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because the twist coming next will shatter every assumption you've made. Now let me show you what really happened. Arlo oversaw the bedroom footage. Clara set the wine bottle on the bedside table. Mum, I brought your favourite. You should rest. You've been working too hard on these recordings. Evelyn looked up from her book. Oh, I'm not the one who needs rest, dear. There was something in her tone, a test. A trap is being set. Clara poured a glass and handed it to her mother. Evelyn took it, smiled, raised it to her lips, but didn't drink. You know, Clara, Evelyn said, setting the glass down, I've been thinking about the will. Richard believes he's getting...
Everything. But we know better, don't we? Clara's hands trembled. I don't know what you mean. The wine. Where did you really get it? Clara's face on the video went pale. From the cellar, like always. Not from David Anderson, your mother's accountant, the one who told you it would just make me sick, just sick enough to prove Richard wasn't caring for me properly. Clara broke down sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I'm drowning, Mum. The creditors call every day. Richard won't help. You won't listen. I just needed you to see how desperate I am. So you tried to poison me. No, just make you sick. So you'd need me. So you'd see I'm the one who cares. Arlo stopped the video and went downstairs to confront Clara. She looked up when he entered. Already knew. You saw it. Arlo nodded. Tell me your version. Clara took a shaky breath. David Anderson gave me something. Said it was just an emetic. Would cause vomiting. Temporary illness. I swear, detective, I didn't know it was poison. I would never. But your mother didn't drink it that night. Clara shook her head. She pretended to. Later, I found out she poured it into the plant on her windowsill. The plant died 3 days later. And tonight's wine, the one that killed Richard. Clara looked confused. I didn't bring that bottle. I haven't touched the cellar since that night. I swear. Arlo looked at Nora. Miss Reed, where did tonight's wine come from? Evelyn's private collection. She left specific instructions. That bottle was for Richard, a 1987 vintage, his birth year. Did you open it? Yes, this afternoon. Did you check it first? No, it was sealed. Evelyn selected it herself. Arlo showed Nora a photo of the bottle. This bottle? You're certain? Yes. She showed me 3 days before she died. Arlo smiled grimly. According to the estate inventory, that bottle was opened 2 years ago. Evelyn marked it in her cellar log as empty, kept for sentimental value. Nora went completely still. Someone refilled that bottle with poisoned wine, Arlo continued. Someone who knew it would be served tonight. Someone with access to the cellar and the poison. Someone who planned every detail. He stepped closer to Nora. You've been here 5 years, watching this family destroy itself, watching Richard's cruelty, Clara's desperation, and you were loyal to Evelyn above all else. So when she asked you to help her die, you did, didn't you? Nora's facade cracked. Tears began falling down her face. She was dying. Stage 4 cancer everywhere. The pain was unbearable. She had maybe 3 months left, and they would have been agony. She didn't want her family to know, didn't want pity or arguments about treatment. She wanted peace. She asked me to help her pass peacefully, small doses in her evening tea, painless. She died in her sleep. And tonight's bottle? Nora's voice dropped to a whisper. She asked me to do that too, weeks before she died. She planned it all, said Richard deserved the same mercy, that his greed would poison him eventually anyway. She wanted to control when and how. So I followed her instructions, everything she'd planned and recorded. I was just the instrument. But Arlo wasn't finished. One piece still didn't fit. He turned to Graham, who'd been silent, sweating, trembling. Mr. Holt, the will reading was scheduled for 7:15, but Richard died at 7:10. Why did the video start 5 minutes early? Graham's hands shook violently. Arlo played an audio recording from Nora's phone. Graham's voice. Nora, we need to move up the timeline. If Richard sees the actual will before he dies, he'll contest everything. We need him dead before he knows he lost. The room went dead silent. Arlo looked at Graham coldly. You changed the timing, ensured Richard died before seeing that Clara got everything. You're an accessory to premeditated murder. Graham stood shakily. Evelyn wanted this. She planned it. I just made sure it went smoothly. Richard was a monster. He deserved. You don't get to decide who deserves to die. Then Arlo pulled out the red-sealed envelope, the one supposedly containing Evelyn's final wishes. He broke the seal and opened it. Inside wasn't a will. It was a letter. He read it aloud. Dear Detective, if you're reading this, you've solved the puzzle. Yes, I orchestrated my own death and Richard's. You want to know why? Because I was dying anyway, 3 months left at most. But I couldn't let Richard inherit and destroy everything I built. Couldn't let Clara suffer under his cruelty anymore. So I gave them all a gift, truth. Nora killed me out of love. Clara tried to poison me out of desperation. Graham manipulated the timeline for justice, and Richard died from his own greed. Every person inherited something, guilt, secrets, or grace. The question is, Detective, which did you inherit? Congratulations, you've joined the family. Arlo folded the letter. He looked at each of them. Nora crying, Clara broken, Graham defeated. He made his decision. Richard Mercer died from poisoned wine provided by Nora Reed under instructions from the deceased. Graham Holt conspired in the timing. Clara Mercer attempted poisoning, but didn't succeed in causing death. The person most responsible is already dead. He looked at all three. Get out of this house, all of you. Never come back. They left that night. Clara, Nora, Graham. The mansion was sealed. The estate is frozen. But 3 days later, a package arrived at the police station addressed to Detective Arlo Dean. Inside, a USB drive and a note. You let them go. That was kind. Here's what you should know. I recorded everything, every crime, every secret. What you do with this information is up to you, but remember, in a house of inheritance, everyone inherits something. You've inherited my conscience. Use it wisely. P.S. Check Clara's bank account. $12 million was transferred the day before Richard died. She never needed the will. She knew all along. Welcome to the family. Detective Arlo Dean never opened that USB drive. He filed his report and closed the case. Clara disappeared to Europe with her inheritance. Nora died 6 months later. Natural causes. Graham retired and never practiced law again, and the Mercer estate burned down exactly 1 year later. No one knows how the fire started, but in the ashes, they found melted recording devices, every secret destroyed. So here's my question for you. If you were dying and had the power to orchestrate justice for your family, would you? Would you play God? Evelyn Mercer did, and became both murderer and savior. This has been The Last Confession. If this story left you speechless, hit that like button. Want more twisted psychological mysteries? Subscribe to Life Twisted Stories. Drop a comment. Was Evelyn a hero or a villain? Share this with someone who loves dark mysteries. Next week, another story that will make you question everything you know about family and revenge. Until then, remember, the deepest secrets aren't always buried with the dead. Sometimes they're passed down as an inheritance. Stay twisted, everyone.